The crash site would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we create, the Yuggera and Turrbal peoples. We also pay our respects to elders, past, present and emerging. Sovereignty was never ceded. Always was and always will be Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's land.
What is this?
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast.
Well, then one person. Oh, that was shit. Oh, that was a peak. Okay, that was good. You got 3 now to work with. See? Here's my clap.
Okay, wait. Let's all open it at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, ASMR. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, we also
Cheers.
peaked.
Cheers.
I didn't get my cozy.
And what a great way to start the podcast. We need cozies.
Cozies are us.
Let's start again.
Well, no, let's just keep it rolling.
Okay.
See what's going.
Alright.
Welcome to the Crash Creative Podcast, Episode 1. Today we'll be exploring, I guess we'll be doing a bit of an introduction, looking at individually what creativity is to us, looking at entrepreneurship, balancing work and life.
I'm sorry. I think we have to address the nightmare of the setup that we've had. We were meant to start recording like an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
And it's all planned out. We've really thought
Hi,
this through.
welcome to the Cash Creative Podcast.
We are a professional podcasting studio.
I'm not gonna lie though, when I was sitting here before, I'm kind of looking at you guys and I'm like, oh yeah, we do podcasts. You know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this has been happening for years.
Yes.
For 50 years we've been making content. Sorry, please continue.
Oh no, that was all good. I liked where that was going. I was going to dwell on that, but...
I mean, we can dwell.
I feel like we
Should
should
we
introduce
dwell?
ourselves.
Yeah,
let's start with
an
an
introduction,
introduction.
shall we?
See.
For those listening on audio, we both
Gestured
gestured
towards each other.
towards one another to open.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'll introduce myself. My name Brilliant. My name is Zed. I am 23. I identify as an interdisciplinary artist. I do a lot of different things, primarily around theatre.
It's so nice to be that you're reading your CV out loud right now.
What else are we saying? I was born in Brisbane. Okay. That chair is squeaking.
It's so bad. I can hear it.
Alright.
It's going to be a
Wait,
character
I'll
of
stop
the
it.
podcast. And now you have to do your introduction.
Now you do
still.
introduction.
My name is Tara. Welcome to my ASMR.
Let's turn the gain up for that one.
Welcome to my ASMR episode.
Okay, hot idea.
Yeah.
We
Let's do
reset.
it. Let's do our introduction as ASMR.
Yeah.
I do think we may need to start again.
No,
let's keep it rolling.
That's it.
This is raw.
Yeah.
I'm Zane Woodley Lake. And I was a producer of Raw.
Nice.
Okay. Full seriously.
We're just embedding inside jokes. So anyone listening at home feels super excluded from all of our insights.
Yeah.
That's a good note. That we need to make in-jokes within the podcast. You can't be referencing outside of it. It's like strictly...
You know what else I enjoy about this podcast so far is the fact that we've broken the fourth wall with it so many times.
Yeah.
And we are now having a discussion about the audience to the audience.
Exactly. It's actually quite meta. We've actually planned this all out.
Yeah.
This is scripted. If you're at home listening, this is fully scripted.
We've been rehearsing for
Anyone
days.
who reviews podcasts, if you'd like to do
All right. Let's do a rehash of the introductions. See how we go with that.
Yeah.
And then jump into what creativity means for us as well as like maybe a check-in, like a 1 to 10.
Yeah,
and,
brilliant.
Something we achieved today.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name's Zane. I am a musician. I also studied event management and have sort of worked at combining the events industry with the arts industry. And I guess it's something that I've been able to pilot through meeting both of you and starting this crash site. And creativity to me is more of a flow state, I think, than anything. And I can't quite pinpoint it, but I know when I'm in it. And today I feel really good because I've been doing lots of meal prep and I've been eating well. And just topping it off with a nice beer and starting this podcast, the first one of many.
What are you drinking, Zane?
Oh, I am drinking.
Let's mention one of our official sponsors.
Yeah. Or to be official sponsors.
Yeah, we'll reach out. I mean, I think
they'll reach out to us after the success.
Yeah. I think local craft beer in Brisbane is great, so that would be awesome. And then we could even make it as a part of the segment as like reviewing beer, maybe.
So Burley Mid-Tide is the beer, just to clarify.
He showed the camera and just completely left all of the audio listeners out.
I need to get used to podcasting.
That's what this episode is. This is our preview of what's to come.
Yeah.
But Tarek, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Tarek. I like music, art. No, okay, my name's Tarek. I'm a Brisbane local. Been creating and working in and around Brisbane and Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast for probably about 3-4 years now. I'm an Ethiopian Australian adoptee, so I've also done a lot of cultural work and work with non-for-profits. I enjoy videography, photography. I've definitely been like what I would call a closeted creative. I think I did a lot of creating in my own space and it was quite personal to me.
Yeah.
And then since Crash, I think that's definitely expanded my horizons, and being able to be a part of a team. I think it's quite hard to be a solo artist.
Yeah.
So being able to be a part of a team, I think, has pushed me to just put work out. So, yeah.
I guess it's even more also hard if you're a solo artist in a community that doesn't have like networks set up or a community there for artists to boost and leverage off each other. I think it's something that we were, when we started, were very aware of trying to promote and, create our own community so that people can have that entry level there.
Yeah. I think the other thing that we've spoken a lot about, so, I mean, why don't I quickly segue and I will properly introduce myself and not just... I was literally trying to spiel off my bio, but now that we're relaxed into the flow of the podcast, my name is Zed.
Flow state.
We're in a creative flow state now.
Creativity.
I grew up in Brisbane, always had a real passion for the arts, particularly theatre and film. I studied abroad overseas in the US and then came back home because of COVID in 2020. And then since then, I've been kind of doing a bit of freelance work as a producer, as well as a creator. I'm really passionate about building creative community, developing accessible pathways across the creative industries, and then also looking at how you can build a sustainable business model within the arts. And yeah, I think for me, if we're talking about creativity too, I think leaning into that and what we're trying to do with Crash is create a space for creation. This idea of creativity is the act of creating something, and giving value to all acts of creation. And the idea is that good and bad are completely subjective, and that's not what we're actually working towards. Creativity is about creating things, trying things out, experimenting and following impulses. And I think that's what we're really passionate about, and that's why we've started this podcast, is to really talk about things surrounding that and experiment with podcasting as a platform.
Yeah, and I also think it can be like a bit of a brain dump for us, because we are so interested also in documenting the process of execution within creative industries, which is something that artists sometimes don't really share. And I feel like the podcast is probably the right format for us to be like, okay, realistically these days that we're recording are days where we've just had meetings all day and we've been ideating or executing or whatever's part of the process we're at, and then we're going to come back and relax and talk about where we're at with Crash, but also where we're at personally. within our creative journey.
Sorry, that was my tooth.
And Zane's going to break all of his teeth. Amazing.
Sorry to interrupt that. That was really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah. I think as well, like, sorry, I said, you look so excited.
For all
to
the
jump in
audio
there.
listeners, Zed's just waiting. He's poised.
Yeah.
He's crouched on his chair and he's just like trying to jump in. And whenever you're not hearing his voice, that's the position that he's in physically.
I'm physically manifesting.
Yeah, and we do have a recorded version of this podcast if you would like to view his different crouching poses.
I have many, and over the course of this podcast, I hope to introduce you to many of my different physical states.
Yeah,
We can analyse them.
Yeah, we can break them down. Yeah.
If you want to leave a comment or let us know how you feel about the different physical states that
Any of your favourites, it'd be great to get some
do.
feedback.
We could potentially do a yoga class down the line.
Yeah.
Can I riff back on what you were saying, Tarek?
Can we jump back on the train?
Something that we, as a company, like, obviously we're starting out now. We haven't even registered it as a legal entity, right? Like, we're in this in-between state.
We are completely illegal.
No, that's not what we're getting at.
That's the truth, though. That's the hard facts.
Yeah.
Oh no. But like, sort of figuring out as a business what processes we need to implement. I think reflection is one that has come up as quite important and something we've just started to actually implement. And I think having this podcast is totally like cementing that as a practice of our business and what we intend to do. So it's really exciting to be able to actually sit down, have the time. You know, it's an hour of talking, but it's, you know, more than that, setting up, and, you know, you actually have more of a time and a space to sit and reflect. Like, even just, you know, the conversation we had at Visible Inc. today with Chrissy, you know, like being able to come here and then, or maybe like, you know, riff off that like impulse, you know, and sort of talk about these ideas, but then providing those conversations to a wider audience.
Yeah, I think a part of it too is for us, we have big ideas. I think like a lot of creatives, you have these big dreams and aspirations for what you want to create. And I think for us, we're trying to figure out exactly what that is. We've produced a couple of events.
Yeah.
Yep.
We've produced a large-scale theatre show. We've accumulated some funding. But I think we're now trying to figure out, well, what is our vision as a collective and also as individuals? And then how do we start to develop a career and a practice that enables that and supports that and is also sustainable for the long term? So I think part of this is also us trying to figure out, how do you actually make it work and also enjoy your life while you're doing it and not just be so addicted to the work and working so hard but not necessarily getting the returns?
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that's really important here is we're all in Brisbane. You know, we've all had a diverse range of experiences from when we've all sort of first met each other.
Yeah.
And we've all ended up back in Brisbane over the past, 18 months. And we're really passionate about trying to leverage that and support the Brisbane arts community, but also connect it to a global community. And how do we as creatives create platforms for one another? How do we support each other? How do we connect in new ways, create new ways, and then ultimately come together to collaborate on projects and different processes of creating?
Yeah, and I think that's probably a good jumping off point. Something that we were looking to discuss today was workflow and work balance.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely we've just basically, we're fresh off pretty much like 2 major productions, and one of them quite large that we've been working on since the start of the year, so that was like 6 months, and
Which we'll probably
and
do.
longer for Zed, which he's been carrying it with him since
2018.
2018. Yeah, there you go. I was going to say 2019, so that's a long time.
I think which might be a like topic for a future episode.
Yeah,
I think we should reflect
and
on.
pathos special.
Yeah.
Unpacking pathos.
Yeah, get a couple of beers ready.
Why you should have put the show on in a warehouse.
Could be a season we have, each person that was involved in for each episode, especially
That'd
that
be
sort of
cool.
thing. That might be cool.
So right now we're actually just brainstorming future episodes live on air. That's
You're
kind of
welcome.
Okay, just jumping back to what I was saying.
Back on the train.
Before I was rudely interrupted.
I feel like we need that soundboard.
Yeah, we do.
Someone needs to be like a train sound.
No, like a crash sound, like glass breaking. Or a car. I'll just do it with my voice.
I was going to say please.
Okay, I'm sampling that, and it's going to be in the next episode.
Don't you dare.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, no. How are you guys feeling coming off those two really big projects? Like, how are you going, almost reacclimatizing to having a balance? Because I think I can speak for all of us when I say there was no balance towards the end of Pathos, which wrapped at the end of June. So not even that long ago. But how are you guys going reacclimatizing to work and having time to see family again?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, well, I guess the trajectory of those couple months was quite intensive. And going back to what I was saying about like creativity and a flow state, it's like and I'm sure we all were feeling that flow state. And it was sort of this just escalation that maybe, at some point did tip out, and in balancing our creative life and work life and social life was a bit too much. But then I guess after that, it feels like waves to me. It sort of was this big wave coming in that then crashed down. And then I remember having conversations with you, Zed, at home, like sitting in that after the dump sort of feeling of like, wow, we've spent so much time and energy on this project. It literally was, a reality, or what we were saying was we were creating our own reality. And then for it to be cut off, quite suddenly, closing night, and then we bumped out of the space the next day. And we had to finalize a lot of things like finances and stuff like that, and we're still working on, I guess, like the post-production, putting out,
Well, we also went straight into a lockdown.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
we
right.
went straight into a 3-day lockdown.
Yeah.
The day when we bumped out, that was the Tuesday of the last Brisbane 3-day lockdown. And we all I think we all came back here once we finished bumping out.
Yeah.
And then we all just kind of split up. I don't even know if you guys saw much of each other but we didn't see each other again for another 3 days, at least from my perspective.
It's quite jarring a bit, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of emotions for me personally, but I guess, I'd like to hear what else, your perspectives were on it or experiences.
I think the analogy of sort of like a wave crashing, I think, is actually quite relevant and something I really resonate with. I think a lot of creative projects I really resonate with. That's a Pathos inside joke. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the inside joke.
I think because you put so much time and energy and emotion into a project like this, and this show really required a lot of the cast, the crew. We didn't know if this show was going to go up, and the three of us, we were operating on like 2 hours sleep for the week and a half leading up to it. Like things, everything that could go wrong went wrong. The show was changing up until opening night, and then it continued to change throughout the full show run.
Each shows,
And I think so. There was, and we were running on adrenaline. We were running on an absolute emotional, like an energetic high to put this thing up, and there was so much emotion in it. Then it ending, I remember just feeling really empty. I remember feeling really just low but ambiguous. Like I didn't know what I felt, and I had to get up and go for runs, and just get out in nature and just try and like clear my head. And I did a lot of processing in those couple of days afterwards. But I also then, we're talking about balance. I am a person who is very much addicted to work, and I get a lot of my like self-validation from the work that I do. And when I'm not busy, I feel like I'm a failure. And that definitely started to come up, where I was like, all these projects that conveniently, like close friends of mine who would come to visit, then went back to Melbourne at the same time. I work, like jobs that I had were ending, like contract work was ending, so I all of a sudden had 2 weeks where I was completely off. I had no obligations, and that was driving me insane. But actually what ended up happening is I had a realization one night when I was like really just like in my emotions, and we sort of spoke about this a couple of times leading up to that moment, when I went, I need to take a day off, like a full day off, right? I don't check emails, I don't do anything. I just let myself rest into it. And what I actually did is I went through all of my journals from the past 4 years of my life, which documented all of the experiences that led up to Pathos. And I sat there and I actually like went through them all and like reflected and spent time like sitting that reflecting on everything that had happened and the person I was and the person that I I was then and the person I was becoming. And in that process, I think I also realized that work ethic, like sometimes you've got to stay up and not sleep to put a show up, you know, or to put a project up, and you've got to give it everything you have.
Yeah.
But that's also not sustainable.
Yeah.
Like for the past 18 months, I robbed myself of a lot of like enjoyment in my life. Like I really did not let myself like socialize. I didn't spend money going out.
Sorry, I hope you didn't hear that. I bowel.
Please
Sorry,
excuse
Please
Zane's bowel.
bowels.
I saw Eric looked at me. I was like, oh shit. I mean, so
Guys, it's the car sound.
So we're a PG
Beep.
podcast. Yeah, thanks for the sound effect there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's sort of a learning process that we go through in not only from like a creative experience. Sorry, Tarek is having a breakdown in the background.
I'm just screaming pterodactyl sounds into the mic and being like, I'm a sound effect board. I'm crying.
That's good. That's great.
It's a really emotional podcast I think, for us.
I'm really tired.
Yeah. I don't know if you're done, but
Please.
I think like a lot of that's resonating with me. And I think the beautiful thing that I just had a bit of an epiphany about is like the show, like we created that show for ourselves in a way because it was a space to be able to like process a lot of things and resonate with new ideas and have a reference of something to, you know, look back on, which were 3 of the core
words, yeah.
words of the show. But yeah, and like I don't know, the days after that show were a bit of a blur looking back for me, to be honest. But I definitely know that I had a lot of revelations just personally in that time, and a lot of things. It was like these shifting of gears in almost like many aspects of my life at the same time, similar to like, you know, having friends leave or, you know, work changing and the lockdown. It was just a handful of things that happened to coincide in a time where you were having to be comfortable with that change and like learn from that experience. Yeah.
It's a quick turnaround time. I think that is something people don't talk about within creativity, is you're not likely to give yourself much time to adjust. You're just like, okay, I've got to do the next project, or I've got to do the next thing, or I've got to make something more, you know? And also people can get caught up in the fact that their art comes from that struggle. Like they've got a lot. I know so many artists who say, I work better under pressure, or I need a shorter timeline, or I leave everything until the last minute and then I smash it all out, you know? It's a bit of a kind of a toxic cycle, but it's almost like a crutch instead of just taking your time and pacing it out and reflecting at each spot too.
I think that you're bringing up a couple of really core points here. I think the other thing that I learned through Pathos and through doing a project like that was with me for 3 years. I mean, I pitched it when I was in the US, and I pitched it to my school over there, and I said, this is what I want my senior thesis to be. And what I imagine it would be to like kickstart my career over in the US, and I didn't imagine myself coming back to Australia. And then we came back, and then we redeveloped the entire show. Like, it's a completely different show that went up. And I think through that, it's like this realization of, wait a second, we are not playing a short-term game here.
Yeah.
Like, we're playing a long-term game. Like, the work that we're putting in now isn't for us in 6 months. It's for us in 6, 16, 30 years. Because it's one project at a time. And think about the amount of learning that you have. Excuse me.
I think we're all realizing that beer might not be the right drink for a podcast.
I was just thinking about how good it is to have.
I do quite like the beer,
good,
but
I am quite conscious of the fact that I'm burping a lot. Also, while we're doing this, okay, just for the video watch, I was playing with this table thing over here because that's the thing that's making the squeaking sound on my chair.
Oh.
It's this. Or your chair.
It's me.
Oh.
So yeah, we have a little squeak.
That's okay. We'll
It's actually just a little man under the table going,
Little Timmy.
Corrects the kink.
Hey, Timmy.
what is wrong with me? The minute I get put in front of a mic, I honestly think I'm a soundboard. I'm like,
Well, it saves some money, like not actually having to invest in a soundboard.
Yeah.
yeah, and then I
Just
could
have
sell it.
live.
Tarek 1000 sounds. 1000 sounds of Tarek.
And this Crash Side podcast interlude is brought to you by Tarek's 1000 Sounds.
Can I,
1000 sounds.
I want to make a soundboard. That would be so much fun. Also, do you remember that speech delay thing? I just experienced it accidentally, and it was, I forget what they called it, but it would play back your speech to you, like
Slightly delayed.
and it would be really hard to
keep
say
speaking.
things. I was just accidentally doing it to myself, and I had a moment. So I'm going to take that out of my ear.
And while Zane takes a quick moment, let's all take a quick moment to figure out what's next.
I was going to say to thank our sponsor.
To thank our sponsor, Burley Mid-Tide Ale.
We're totally gonna get attacked because they're gonna be like, "You're not allowed to use our name."
Yeah, they're like, this
Oh,
podcast,
no.
they're like, you guys
Oh,
have
no.
not been able to hold a conversation at
We're
all.
gonna have to censor the beer.
Can I jump in then and put us on a trajectory?
Yeah.
Is that we
Wait.
Okay, that's the car turning
Yep.
down a different road. So we've been talking about, I guess, our personal experiences over the last 6 months or so. Could we maybe like dissect more of like what it's taken for us to balance, or for lack of a better word, balance work and life, work and creativity, and what it looks like, and my belly again, or maybe like some of the challenges. Let's like narrow down, and then maybe talk about any solutions we had, or road bumps, speed bumps along the way. What have we had in the last 6 months? For those listening, maybe if they're going through similar experiences.
Yeah, I mean, I can jump right off the bat there. This is something that I've done a lot of thinking about over the past couple of months, and I think it's been one of the biggest things that I've had to work on over the past couple of years, because my relationship with work was really damaging a lot of other relationships in my life, especially my relationship with myself. I think sometimes it's really easy to get attached to the work that you create and like your career as being like a core validator of your life. And I think a big part of this like journey has been that if I'm not happy, if I do not feel fulfilled in my own life, and like and that I don't feel happy and feel balanced in my life, then the work that I create is not worth it. Like it's got to fit in with my life. It's got to be about the experiences, the plethora of experiences that happen in every aspect of my life influence the art I create. And I think for me, there was part of me that was like, no, the suffering is good. Like the suffering, like similar to what you were saying before, like
it's a trap.
Yeah, it fuses with my art and makes my art better. But it doesn't have to be like that. And I think a lot of the realizations that I've had, over the past couple of weeks really have been like, what are the things that actually matter to you in life? Like, what is important and what do you really enjoy? And I had to really sit down and think about that. And like, one of the things is I love having conversations with people. I love connecting with people. I love creating and not having to be worried about what the outcome is or what people think of it by just creating things. And also, like, I another thing that was really important to me was like intimacy and deep connection with other human beings, and also family. And they are things that I starved myself of and didn't let myself engage with because I was like, I'm busy. I'm working. Busy. A lot of time I wasn't even like doing work. Like nothing was getting done. But I was just like, no, I need to work all day. I'd be waking up at 3 a.m. Like I had no social life. I didn't know anyone really in Brisbane apart from like the creative team. And I would just be working my ass off because I was like, I thought that that's what I had to do to validate myself as an artist, but also as a human being.
Yeah.
And I think part of what the realization has come out of it is like, how do you feel about yourself when you are by yourself?
Yeah.
And if you've got to, and like, I think it's different for everyone. Like there's no roadmap to that. But I've had to really go, what do I need to do in my life that allows me to, like, when I come home at night, I'm like, yeah, like I love you, Zed. Like, Zed, you as an individual, as a person, despite work, despite all of those other things, like, you as a person, you are satisfied in your life, you feel happy, you feel fulfilled in your life, and you feel okay with yourself. And I think that it's separating all those things and going, no, I'm not going to get attached to my work. I'm not going to get attached to these projects and these external validators, but I'm going to find validation in just, like, who I am as a human being.
Yeah.
And I think that process has then allowed me, like, you know, the past...
Creativity flourishes
Yeah.
from that.
I feel so much more creative these past few weeks than I have in quite a while, you know, like, and I actually feel happy. Like, I feel like I'm the happiest I've been in a really long time, you know, like, because, like, we're doing things, you know, we're having conversations like this. We're like, yeah, let's do the podcast.
Yeah.
It's messy. We don't fully know what we're doing, but let's, like, just start getting the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Let's have conversations about what we're passionate about. Naturally, then, like, work picked up again and I got new contracts for work. I'm spending more time with my family and I'm like, I feel like I'm there for my younger siblings. I think also it's just like that base level of, like, my base operating level is way more positive. And that, like, the way that I speak to myself is way more positive because I'm like, just because you didn't get up at 3 a.m. because you need to sleep, you know, because you need at least 7 hours sleep to operate, and you were up because you were connecting with people and you're having great conversations, you know, and that's really important to you. So it's really, I think it's also like testing the waters, trying things out, experimenting with, you know, what's important to you and taking that time to, like, as we said, like, reflect. Yeah,
and work out what that balance is. I think for me, my approach has always been, like, as I mentioned at the start, I'm a compartmentalizer. So I would have everything separate in my life. I would have my family, then I would have my friends, then I'd have my work, and then I'd probably have another aspect of work. And it was all very separate. And then my creativity and making things and sharing things was completely separate. Like, it was mine and it was behind closed doors. And for me, balance-wise, learning to bring those things together has made a massive difference. Like, now I'm just creative with my friends, and then that pushes me to be, like, to share my art and to learn more about what I can achieve. And then I'll bring my family into it and I'm like, oh, well, I've actually got a show. Like, then that gives me time to see them. And then it's also, because now I'm actually finally pursuing it, it's work. And it counts as work. Whereas before, I'd be busting my ass, kind of trying to finish work and uni and creativity, but all separate. And it's like, well, aren't they the same? Aren't they the same thing? But yeah, I'm also, I get lost in work as well. And sometimes I try and bleed it into too many areas in my life where I need to just be putting my foot down and being like, okay, you're allowed to just go away for a weekend, you know, like, it's all good. And I think personally, just drawing, as a suggestion for other people, drawing really hard lines in the sand for yourself. You know, you are relearning something that might not come naturally to you. So I have a day planner. I've finally gotten into the rhythm of writing down everything I need to get done at every other job that I work at, because I work bloody everywhere. And I just have to put in there day off.
Yeah.
Going to dinner. Like, and if it's in the diary, it happens. And I guess that's just one approach. But for me, it helps just to be more strict with myself in my creative pursuits and my work pursuits and my personal life. And even in a week or so, I've got taking week off for the first time in probably like 2 years. Because if I took time off work that I get paid for, you know, like the old 9-to-5 work, then I would be doing creative work. I would be doing pathos, or I would be doing something else for someone else, or I would be doing uni, you know, and just to be going like, no, all of it can just wait a week and I get time for myself, and making hard and fast times to see people. I think something else that helped me realize that there's not enough time in life is my sister had a baby, you know, and she's quite literally, my niece, she's so cute. She's quite literally one of the best things that's happened to me, which is weird because I didn't do that much work. I just showed up and was like, oh, she's cute. But, you know, she's only going to...
shift, you know?
Yeah. But she's only going to be this old for so long. So even when my sister was pregnant, I was like, I've got to see her every week. Before that, I would see her maybe at each family function, which was every couple of months kind of thing. And which is ridiculous because we grew up side by side and we're really close and we really get a lot out of the time we spend together. But having that's it's not a stressor, but having that indicator in your life where it's like, no, you've got to see her, you know, she needs you, you want to be a part of Willow's life, this, that, and the other. And then that has given me the momentum to hold on to those rules for myself. And that those, I'm adamant those will become a part of my practice forever, is making that time for myself and carving it out, like no matter how hard it is. You've just got to, because we don't have enough time.
I think the other thing on that too is I think you have to, like, it's got to be a hard line.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, this is one thing I did, and I feel like we've spoken about this as well, is like, it's very easy to go, okay, I'm going to spend this, I've got 45 minutes to go see my family. Awesome. But then when I'm there, I'm checking emails and I'm like responding to phone calls and text messages. And then I go, well, what was the point of even going to see them? Like, I didn't, and the same thing with relaxing. It's like, I'm going to take a day off. But then I spend the day responding to emails, doing up like my planner for the week, doing this. It's like, that's not time off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still working. And I think that's the other thing, is realizing it's like, this idea of like, if you're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's the same with, and like, it's like, if you're going to sit down and work, sit down and fucking work.
That's what I was about to say, is I do think when you're carving out those serious times for relaxation and for other parts in your life, then you are way more productive in the times that you put for work, because that's it. That's what you got, right? If you just give yourself those boundaries, then you'll become more productive within them, because you're not missing those other parts. Like, you're fulfilled at a base level and you're happy at a base level, and that makes you more productive and more creative. How about you, Zane? Sorry, we've waffled for about 20 minutes.
I relate to a lot of it, and I guess from my perspective, the thing that I've learned in the past, even like 3 months, is like, anything you do, like, as long as you show up for yourself, I think the benefits will be, tenfold. And it's interesting hearing like both of your perspectives on something similar, but from different, I guess, lights. And something I've been looking at as well is personal development. And then I feel like with that, or at least to get more specific, I guess writing down goals, is actually like working towards goals, working on my mental health, my thought processes, my internal dialogue, lots of things like that seem minor until you start to work on it, and then it has like such a drastic impact. And I guess as well, there's that, and then also from another angle is like, so doing all my creativity stuff, I guess it's not, I used to think it had to be like this. It had to be sort of, this product, this outcome. But, what we've learned at least is it's process. Or a large part of it is process. And I've found myself, having my own creativity and exploring my own creativity through outlets that I otherwise wouldn't have thought as creative. Like taking a step back from, theatre. I used to be an actor, I still love to act, but then going to more of the production side. I always thought it would be bland, but no, it's actually, it's still this great thing that you get to like have, quite a control on, and you're putting in your ideas and you're seeing the results. So it's like, I guess, I don't know what I'm trying to say right now exactly, but the power of like my mind and shifting from what I used to think my creativity was to now what I live as my creative practice, and constantly working on it and finding new ways of improving that. But then also, like in different, we were talking about work-life balance, changing my perspectives on what work means to me, or what, I guess more specific, what the job that I work to pay the rent means to me. And then finding more satisfaction through having clear definitions.
I love that all creatives are like, oh yeah, my job.
Yeah.
Like there's my work and there's my job.
Yeah. And then on another note, to sort of segue, I guess, is I was thinking it's really interesting, like the value you put on your own work and how I've found it really easy to be self-critical of creative work or output. I wanted to ask, like, what experiences you both have had with that, like, in relationship to our projects that we've done. And I can also jump in as well. I just think it's really interesting because I find it like an easy trap to like be over analytical on like what I'm creating or producing, when really like I should be just enjoying the process in the moment. Or yeah.
I think we've talked about this before as a group. I definitely get tunnel vision. And I get really analytical about like every little thing that I'm doing and whether I'm hitting time markers, whether it's as good as maybe people around me, especially if you're working in a group setting. It's even just being in a partnership as Crash, as much as we're here as an autonomous creative collective and we're just here to support each other, you do still have that healthy competition, or a little bit of like, well, the boys are pushing this stuff out, so I've got to make sure that my work's up to par as well. But it's again, I think it comes back to the process thing, and it comes back to being able to stop and hold yourself and be like, I'm going to put out the work that I can put out, and whether it's what I imagined in my brain or not, that doesn't matter, as long as I'm getting something out of the process. If you spend all your time nitpicking everything, you won't get anything out of the process, and that's when it's all for nothing. Not when it's not up to your scratch. As long as you're putting something out that you think you've put your heart into, and you've taken the time to reflect on the process and understand how far you've come, then you're always taking something out of it, no matter what other people think or critics think, or
I think that's like such a great way to put it, and I think it's that idea of like, we were talking about creativity earlier, like the act of creation is enough. You creating something is like, whatever you create, it's perfect because only you could create it, right? Because it's coming from you. If you're being authentic and you're honest and you put something out into the world, like that takes courage. Like, it is hard to do, and the fact that you did it, that's the most important thing, right? And I think the way, like, Stephen Pressfield talks a lot about this in his books about like resistance, this idea that there is this force that is holding us back from like the creative fulfillment and the creation that we want to put out into the world, right? This voice that's like, that's not good enough. Did you really just write that? Or why even bother continuing with this project? And like, talking about pathos, like there were days where I would wake up and I would spend the whole day rolling around on my floor being like, you're useless. Like, why are you doing this? Like, it's never going to come together. It's an absolute shit show, right? And it's like, you have to fight and like wrestle that voice in your head, and it is a fight. Like, it is a violent act to shut that voice out, but it's a really important act because it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the more you go, I'm not listening to you right now. Like, I'm working. I'm creating right now. Like, the more you stand up to that, is like, you build muscles. You build the ability to like fight back next time, and you learn to trust yourself and your instinct,
and each other.
Exactly.
I've found through the stuff we've done, is like having that reciprocity and someone to back you up.
I think it is, well, just from my personal experience, I do find it slightly easier working within a team, because at least you've got someone to bounce stuff off. And you're like, well, I respect that person and I love their work, so if they are genuinely, and I know they're going to tell me the truth, and if they're genuinely saying this is good enough, or tweak this and then it's in the right direction, I find that easier than being left alone with myself and having to wrestle that, because you're exerting so much energy trying to trust yourself. It's hard to do the work. It's hard to do the work.
Exactly. I think there's also this idea of like separating the creator and the editor. They can't exist simultaneously. Like it's that thing. It's like if you're writing and you're editing as you're going, like you have these two conflicting forces. One that just wants to get stuff out onto the page, and one that is trying to nitpick and make it perfect. And they can't coexist. It's like I think it's like you've got to dedicate time. All right, this part of the process is creation, and then this part is editing. You know, and sometimes it's not as smooth as that, right? Sometimes you've got to sort of wrestle with it. But I think it's a good way to look at it is go, what is my creation time and what is my editing time? Because like you don't want to be making something whilst you're trying to edit it.
Oh yeah, no, we're good. We're good for time. We've still got about 15 minutes if you want. Yeah.
Does someone need another beer?
I could go get some more beers.
Can I ask? Oh, did you want to get beer?
I think he wants beer.
Okay, get beer.
That's his I want beer.
We'll take a short beatbox.
I was gonna, you could interlude.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say, does anyone else want another beer?
I'll have another beer, please.
I'll have another beer.
I'll have another burley.
Another burley?
How about we put a "We'll be right back" and then the
Yeah.
kitten hanging.
We'll be right
Some
back.
jazz music.
Wait, stop.
I
was trying to think if it's hard. Yeah. Right when I get back. Okay, and then I'll be back.
You guys just practice because I'm finished this
I've already cracked one.
We can crack sync.
Hey, Zane, do you want to crack some?
one. Sorry, crack.
There goes our mic.
There's that collapsing.
We're that.
And we are back and rolling.
Stop.
No, we need an
Some-
actual collapsing.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, we're gonna clap sync. This isn't. We're clap synced and we are ready to
back.
go. We've got
We've
our
got our
beers.
beers.
We've had our toilet
We've had our
break.
schmears.
Oh, now I'm thinking of bagels.
Oh, next episode we're gonna have bagels.
Let's get bagels.
Okay. Okay. Every episode has a feature beer and a feature bagel. Maybe
Yeah. No, bagels are expensive.
Guys, we're
Feature
gonna just
food.
burp our whole just gluten and yeast. Just
It's sponsored by the gluten and yeast
Did
industry.
you say yeast?
no, I said yeast when I started laughing. Anyway, back to the ones that do
Super Show.
Also, stay tuned for the Zed and Zane show coming
The
to
Zed and
you
Zane
next
show
fall.
produced by Taryn, but not supported by her.
Sponsored by. Actually, no. I had a question for you, Zed.
Please.
We were talking about process and creation and editing and separating steps in a creative process. Well, we drew it back in really quickly.
No, but you've just thrown us back out.
It was intentional.
It's all scripted. We've just got to remember that. This is a
Yeah,
reminder for the audience. We are running off a
We've
script.
actually been rehearsing this for weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, everything is down to a T.
I'm having deja vu.
Right.
So the question I had for you, because I'm gonna take us back to our little trip we had, our little house trip. So for the viewers out there and listeners, so we are recording this from our home studio in Wollongabba.
Yeah.
Zed and I live together.
Yeah.
And we have a little granny flat. So this is in the loft of our granny flat. And then
Tarek doesn't live here, but she leaves all her stuff here.
Okay.
anyway, we went on a trip with our other housemates because we're divided by. There's two houses. It's the same. Anyway,
Yep.
doesn't matter. Irrelevant. But you showed me a blog post that you were writing,
Yeah.
and it was very much like on the present moment. And well, it was actually. I'll let you describe what it is later. But the question I had is with your blogs that you write, and you can also have a link to your website. It's a chance to plug it. Is it very clear, like, do you separate creation, editing? Is there, like, quite a distinct process in blog writing that you could then make a mold and translate into other mediums?
Really interesting question. blog writing is one of the things that I have deliberately chosen that I'm not going to edit.
Cool.
I find that I can get like obsessed with things, and it can mean that I just never produce anything. So I deliberately chose at the beginning of my blog writing that I would write it, I would then do a quick read over and just try and check for some basic grammar, and then I would upload.
Cool.
And I think that's a process that I've really just tried to employ. And funnily enough, I think that's a process I want to employ for more stuff that I create, especially at this stage of my career, is I don't want to be... Sorry, I had another beer and now I'm burping again. I don't want to be like constantly editing and trying to make everything perfect. I want to just be putting stuff out there and getting an idea and like learning through doing. So I think with my blog writing, that's one of the things that I'm trying to do, because I think it's very easy for me to get self-conscious about my writing. And so I really try and just write from instinct and from intuition and impulse, and then see what happens, and then maybe get a bit of feedback, which you provided, and then sort of edit it.
Yeah, because I was wondering, because I just remember that moment quite vividly of like, well, we had the car trip to the property and we had a conversation, and then you'd gone away and written something like sort of like an essay, like and then you showed me, and I remember going into the room and having a look at it and putting my own sort of thoughts and reflection on it. But I guess that was like, the blog was something that we'd shared, so I guess you were like giving me the opportunity to like have a little bit of an input on it. Yeah. Have you uploaded that one?
No, I don't think I have yet.
Cool.
Yeah. In fact,
it's because Zane's had something to do with it.
So it's gone in a lot. Zane gave me feedback, and I've just put it into the folder of Zane's given feedback,
into the
never
file
to be
dump.
published.
Yeah.
No, I actually need to.
So
I need
this is
to.
an autonomous creative.
I feel like this is everything I do.
Zane provides feedback, and then that immediately cancels the project.
Yeah, this podcast, no one will ever hear it.
Yeah,
because Zane's editing it.
Yeah, Zane was in charge of getting this set up, so it's not going.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going.
No, but I think like that was an important one, because from memory, like I kind of forgot about that blog post, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it was about. But I think it was one of the things that it came down to was this idea of experiencing a moment and being in that moment and acknowledging the like profundity of like mundane moments and the ability to actually lean into a moment and experience it rather than needing to analyze it. And I think like one of the moments I talked about was there was this moment where we'd all sort of had dinner and we'd all gone outside and we sat down and we just like smoked a joint and had a couple of glasses of wine, and we looked up and we could see, and there was sort of like storm, it was raining, we were listening to music and we were just talking, and I went like, what a fucking like wild, profound moment of you know, 4 people that honestly like could easily not have known each other in life.
Yeah, that's another whole story as well, and like coincidence that we've all come together and found this place that we live in, and it's so interesting.
And the coincidence of the 3 of us being here. I mean, Tarek and I went to primary school together. We met at Brisbane Arts Theatre when we were like little kids doing like acting together, but we weren't even in the same group because
we're like age groups difference.
Yeah,
because he's an old man.
Because I'm really old.
It's an old man.
I've been in here for 50 years.
I think we've got the title of your blog, The Profundity of Mundane Moments. I love that.
That's actually quite nice.
That's an album name.
Well, we also now need a new blog title for that blog, but so that's perfect. That was good. Thanks. We had a conversation.
Now we can't have that conversation anymore because I said it was good. That's feedback.
Yeah, that's feedback, and we're transitioning.
Sorry.
Zane, what kind of creative things have you been thinking about recently? We're at the stage where we're sort of moving on to the next things. What's on your radar?
Yeah.
Okay, something I'm really passionate about at the moment is. And my license is expiring soon. My free license is
it's like you're driving.
Zane
what I'm really interested in is getting back on the road.
But my license is expiring soon and I don't know how to renew it.
So I'm just going to drive.
Yeah, so I'm talking about driving software for music.
Yeah.
And I've been really into, like, I made the beat for this podcast that you'll hear at the end and the start.
But you edited it, so it's
not. We've already cut it. It's just us going, we've got things.
You know what I mean, though? Like, it's something I'm actually interested in
Yeah.
and love doing is making beats. Like, just impromptu. Like, even when we were in the creative process of Pathos, I was recording live moments mundane moments and then making something out of it, and I found it really fun. And I think that something that's sticking with me now is like just creating and not worrying about editing and just putting it out.
Yeah.
You know, like, because that's something I have like a backlog of lots of tracks that I just haven't put anywhere.
Because you're a musician, realistically, like a lot of your creative work in your spare time, you work with like making your own tracks, and then you also play in multiple bands. Or so give us some background on.
Yeah. Okay,
because I've never spoken to you before,
really?
so I wouldn't have a clue.
Tarek has never spoken to me before. This is the first conversation. No, I've been playing music for since 2009. No,
I'm glad we acknowledged that voice crack because I was going to call it out too. Thank you.
It's funny, I'm talking about 2009. My voice was probably cracking around that time. But yeah, instrumental music in school, and I played the trombone. And I now know I'm good friends and play in a band with the teacher who put me onto this music. But yeah, I've played trombone since 2007 or 6. And played drums since about 2009 or 10. And I've always loved, I think, like, going back to creative flow. Some of my most memorable moments in life are live gigs and being on stage behind an instrument and being able to express myself through that medium. And a lot of it has been being comfortable with the instrument and learning how it works and how I can, like, the thing that I struggle with, and I think every musician struggles with, is there's this phase where you hear something in your head and you're trying to convey that through the instrument. But sometimes you're just not at the level where you can do that fluently. It's like a language. It's communication. So yeah, I've been playing it for quite a lot of years now, and I'm very comfortable where I'm at in Brisbane with the bands that I'm in. And I've had to say no to projects that come up, and I've had to choose, and had a lot of fun along the way, just sort of slotting in and out of bands or experiences relating to live music. And I think another part of that is making tracks and like having this platform to be able to explore more of that on quite a simple scale. But yeah, I think sound is something I'm pretty well versed with. I listen to music all the time. Love collecting records, and Spotify is a great platform that's made so much music accessible. But at the same time, I think it's important to support artists that you do listen to and support them through merchandise and albums, buying digital albums or physical albums, going to gigs, stuff like that, which has been a bit hard to navigate, I guess, recently. But yeah, I think I've just you can probably tell that I love music, and it's something that really is like an essential part of me that I've come to realize recently. So yeah.
So you want to get, because I think the thing that's coming out of this is like you've actually realized too that you're really good at making music, right? And that you can do it like individually, like you which we've done. We were looking back on tracks from this show that we did in 2017, where like one night you came over to my house and you were just jamming out on a keyboard, and we were trying to record music for this show that was in 2 days. But you've got a natural talent for that, and something that you're really passionate about.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's been some barriers or something that's held you back from actually doing that and putting time into that. Yeah. What do you feel like those barriers have been?
I think a big part of it has been self-doubt, to be honest, or like sticking to what I'm good at, knowing that like I'm in these bands and I'm good at just performing. Well, actually, I can try to explore other elements. But I think a big part of it was, I remember coming out of high school and I had the option of studying music at the conservatorium in South Bank, or the option of submitting a portfolio, and I just thought, no, I'd rather keep it as a passion or a hobby than make it a career, because my perception of what a career was at the time was hard yakka work that you don't want to do. But I've come to realise, well, no, actually you can make your life and your career out of your passion. It is totally attainable. It takes a lot of work, but you can do it.
And it's about making it work for yourself as well.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not derailing completely, but I'd like to drop in the comment that beautiful use of the word hard yakka.
Yeah. I was going to acknowledge that,
that was
too.
seamless.
Yeah,
that was
very well
absolutely
done.
like,
You know,
Thank you.
yeah.
a wordsmith
Congratulations.
and a musician.
Yeah, seriously.
Just bow.
For everyone who's listening on audio, Zane just took a bow.
I'll take it. You know, like I'm on a bit of a roller coaster now. You guys were talking about how my feedback was invaluable. I mean, invalid. And now you're talking about, you know, I'm just taking that roller coaster.
That's what this podcast really has come to
It's
today.
the emotional torment of Zane Woodley Lake.
The centerpiece. I think if we're going to summarize it down into
That's
what you
what
can
we should name.
expect.
That's what we should name this episode. The emotional torment of Zane Woodley Lake.
It's a roller coaster.
It's a roller
Jump
coaster.
on board.
Yeah.
There are height restrictions though. Zane's happens to be very tall.
Very tall. I
Yeah.
think it's 189
Yeah, and if you're not
centimeters.
taller,
Yeah, if you're not taller, then
don't get on.
Yeah.
don't get on.
Can I come back to my experiences in music?
No. Sorry, I had to do that. Please.
I knew it was coming. On a weekly basis, I'm rehearsing like twice a week consistently now. Always have been, or since I can remember, you know, since I graduated high school in 2014, have been doing music on a weekly basis, and it's become a part of my life now. And it's hard to remember that and to sit in the moments, mundane moments if they may be. But yeah, I think especially the social aspect that I get out of it in one band, for example, like big jazz band in a community that I absolutely love, and I love every member of that band as well. And people come and go, and you know, it serves quite a strong purpose in my life, not just creatively but socially. And you know, being able to do gigs, you know, as part of Anywhere Festival, that was like almost this other bridging gap of like all my other walks of life of like event production, music. Yeah, I don't know, it's important to sometimes reflect, sit back and look at where you are and you know, give yourself a pat on the back for what you've achieved, you know.
Yeah. But what a great point. Like, what a great point, maybe as we sort of come to, like, wrap this podcast up. I think we've been running for about just over an hour now. But this idea is that I think it's so important that we take the time to actually pat ourselves on the back and go, like, I did that, you know? Like, I put something out into the world, and it doesn't matter what other people think, you know? It's like, what matters is that in so doing, you were working to become better. Like, you were putting yourself out there to become better, to evolve, you know? And, like, it's awesome to see that. Like, we've known each other for...
7 years now?
7 years now? Yeah, 7 was... which is 7.
Soundboard, Tarek.
Something's wrong with me. Something's serious.
Something's wrong with this podcast because it is all over the place. Something's wrong with this podcast, but it's going to get better because this is our first crack at it.
Yeah.
We had a lot of technical things getting it all together, but we were able to record it, and I think what's exciting about this too is I think we feel like there's something we really want to put more time into, we want to commit to as a company, as a collective, but also as individuals, as a way of documenting our process, documenting how we're thinking about creativity, how we're trying to produce more work, and also
our
how
growth as a company.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I think, you know,
or maybe it'll just document our demise.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe this is you know, maybe
something.
This is the start of the fall of the Roman Empire. That's what this is.
Because we are the Roman Empire as a company. That's what we're aspiring to.
Yeah. As a company that's been functioning for about
illegally for about
6 months. We are the Romans of the industry.
Yeah, we are the Romans of the industry, and if Zane edits anything, it will cause our demise. So I think.
So for God's sake, man, don't touch the computer.
Can I just jump in real quick and just say, we are figuring it out, but we would love for you to reach out to us and connect on our various social media platforms. Yeah. So you can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Music. I mean, actually, you're listening to this, so you've found us.
You have managed to maneuver the world of podcasts and audio entertainment to find the Crash site podcast.
And some brilliant maneuvering it was.
Yeah, well done to you. Let's give you a
Let's
pat on the back.
You on the back.
You have got to the end of this podcast. Well done, well done, because it has been a roller coaster.
Yeah. No, and we appreciate your support, and exactly as Zane was saying, please do reach out. Anything that you think we've done well, anything that you think we've done terribly, keep to yourself.
Don't share on
No,
social
no,
media.
no, not that.
No, but seriously, message us.
Yeah.
You know, we're all about accessibility as well as a
Yes.
company.
Yeah.
So you can find us on all the social medias. Our handles, the Crash site, on Instagram, Facebook. We'll get to LinkedIn eventually. This will go up on YouTube if you want to look at our faces and watch Zane burp live.
And eat cashews. I've been eating cashews this whole time.
Yeah.
From mixed nuts.
And
Love
especially
mixed nuts.
if this podcast gets over 100 streams within this day.
What are we gonna do? Come on,
What
you
should
didn't know what you were gonna say, and then you're saying it, and now you've committed to something.
What are we committing to? We'll release another episode.
Oh,
A
yeah.
special episode.
No,
We'll
we'll
bonus.
do an ASMR episode.
Yeah,
A
yeah, we'll
complete ASMR episode where we talk about our childhood trauma.
Oh, God. And with that,
And
signing
with
out.
that, we will sign out.
That's the Crash team.
This
You're
is-
listening to
This is Zane.
Zane Woodley Lake.
Tarek. Yep, Tarek.
Zed Hopkins. And we are
The Crash.
The Crash.
I'm not-
Creative
I'm not-
Podcast.
I think.
No,
Yeah,
we're
we
not
find-
doing this.
That's the
Okay, we're not signing off. It's just gonna cut.